All right, welcome to the Curiosity Cast episode. I am unsure, but let's dive in. So, first of all, if you first time watching, who am I? My name is Jack Klink. I am I would say a health coach, right? Really, nutritionist, personal trainer, been a high school strength coach, formerly a Division One football player, Division One football coach, tight ends coach specifically, and then right have kind of went through different stages of life. And really, what this solo podcast is dedicated to or dedicated for or who it's inclined to really spur some thought is for young men, right? It's for young men. The more I'm out doing things, the more I talk to young men, and many times young men are disenfranchised, quite frankly, with with modern life, right? Of what's happening in life for them. They sometimes feel like things are happening to them. So how can we, or how can I share some thoughts that might help young men out there? And that's the goal of today's podcast. Recently, been mentoring some young men who've realized they need to change for the better. They need to mature. Maybe I'm talking about myself in a sense as well. Of course, always trying to improve and mature. But there's different stages of life where we want to do that. Now, right, as a health, right, currently I have my own online coaching business where I help people. It's called Line Man to Lean Man. I think we could actually change that just to Line Man, an, actually Lean Man nutrition or Lean Man coaching, something of that sort. Because more than half the people who I help are not even former linemen. I work with a lot of current linemen, high school, college, professional, also MMA fighters, but then a lot of just current people in their life who I would say maybe is just we would consider that in the fitness industry a general population. And I love helping all people, specifically young men though, from ages probably 14 to 25. I think it's just 14 maybe to 30 is just a fantastic time to really help mold the future generations. And I'm grateful to be able to help in that regard. And it goes much deeper in what I do than just nutrition and training. And it's oftentimes difficult to share that on social media and not sound, it's like self-aggrandizing kind of person, right? Just like I don't want to sound preachy or like I have all the answers because I don't. But I have a lot of experiences and I've grown older now that I'm 28. So I like to share some things that can really help people and help young men specifically because I can relate to young men, right? I'm not a woman, uh, and I won't ever be a woman. So I know how to help young men because that's what I do professionally for over a year. That's who I work with. Well over 150 people I've worked with and have a solid client list. And even right now, I am kind of in a transition stage where I'm still coaching and able to do something that I freaking love, which is help people improve their health, mind, body, spirit. But also, I'm able to do this online, so I'm able to firefight, right? I just moved out to Oregon recently. I was in New Mexico for a bit, hence the change in the background. You don't see any more of those plants. That was at a different location. But, right, so what is the purpose of today, right? To help you as a young man figure out your trajectory in life. So, something I've been really looking into and been exposed to just recently is a book called The Preparation. Now, I would highly recommend this book. It's written by Doug Casey, who's a very interesting Renaissance man who speaks a lot about economics, money, investing, but also so much more. And his co-authors, Matt Smith and Maxim Smith, are also really interesting people who I've just past few days gained a lot of information from. And something interesting about being a man and being a young man and being a person in general is when you start to kind of put things out there, you start to put out your interests, things come back. And I've been putting out interest where I'm like, I don't, modern society, wherever I go in the United States just feels a little off, right? And then I hear these people talking. They exemplify precisely what I felt, but they can explain it in a better manner. So I would encourage you, a young man, to definitely get that book. I just got it online because I'm going to be going to flyers and ordering. I don't want to order a book and then not get it for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to have to be somewhere where I'm like, dang, I wish I could read that book. And that goes into reading, right? As a young man and as a man in general, reading is such a powerful tool that you have at your disposal for a very low monetary value, but a extremely high value and really an ability for value creation within yourself, right? It's going to allow you to gain knowledge and then wisdom, and via knowledge and wisdom, then power. But we want to make sure we're doing that in the right regard, right? Obviously, morally, in a virtuous manner, but want to be doing something we actually feel that connects with us. And something I just posted about today, right? I posted a little hiking picture. I was breaking in my boots, um, and got. I used to have loggers, which are like big heeled boots for my past fire season in 2024. But those kind of bothered my feet. I had to take a year and a half off and focus on my health, and that's what led me to health coaching because I learned a lot. Had people asking me, "Hey Jack, how do I lose weight?" After I lost about 80 pounds, so I started helping some people out for free, and namely had a great client result from my client Don Palizzi, good friend, and he dominated and lost a bunch of weight, looked great, and that gave me some confidence to think, okay, rather than working at gyms and rather than working for other people, I've done that. I've been a high school strength coach. I've been a personal trainer for high level athletes and just entrepreneurs, doctors, anesthesiologists, right? Smart people, wealthy people. So I kind of understood that. And then I applied that to coaching online and hired a business coach and started launching that thing. And it's been great. It's been fantastic. And there's been some kind of speed bumps. And those are basically my own health journey, which you can look at it, right? You can look, maybe you're struggling with health as an obstacle, which technically it is in a net negative or something of difficulty. But for me, I was able to learn a vast amount of knowledge, which then I can pass on and help synthesize for people, right? For coaching, they don't pay for just, hey, write a book to me. No, what are the actionable steps that I can take to improve my life? And they pay a coach because, right? And I pay coaches, I still do. And, sometimes people online have gotten a bad rap and maybe rightfully so, right? There's some people who just are coaches or course sellers, and they're just freaking right. I've been burned too, where I pay somebody for a service and I don't even get the full service, and I'm like, dang man, I was hoping I could get some help with XYZ, and it doesn't really work out, right? I pay them and I don't get a refund, and I'm not one of those people who I really want to ask for one. I think once you have your own business, you realize that there's a lot of aspects to it. And a big one is payment collection. A big one is having an accountant, a bank account. Like there's some things that are pretty important. I'm still working on that, right? I still need to make a website. I've just been putting it off. I need to vibe code a website, but it's not something I overly focus on currently, and it's something in a cycle, right? The preparation talks about that I'll be focused on shortly for sure. But what I'm trying to really emphasize is there's been many iterations of the life I live, and I'm very grateful for what I get to do right now, which is have a business where I can provide for myself and also do things kind of side hustle, side project, aka wildland firefighting, and I get to do that for um, for the love of the game, to be quite frank. Right, I felt very much drawn to this, and this goes into really what I'm going to recommend for you guys, but it is not something, right, that we talk about mimetic desire. That's what I was talking about in my Instagram post. And that's really when you see somebody else doing things and then you're indoctrinated into chasing the same goals, but you don't even care about them, right? And this happens in the corporate world, right? After college, I got into corporate sales because that was just the next path, it seemed, right? My father did corporate sales before he became an entrepreneur. A lot of athletes become involved in corporate sales. So I was like, all right, I guess this is, I got recruited to do it. And I was like, all right, I guess this is just the next path, right? And very, very soon, I realized in my gut, I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I definitely don't want to do this. I don't enjoy it. Yeah, sure, I'm making good money. I'm doing well. I'm the freaking rookie of the month for like 3 straight months. But I don't like this. I don't want to go to banks and talk to accountants and try to sign somebody up for a service. And something about the United States that really, and maybe this is globally and probably, and I need to figure that out via travel, but it feels like at the end of an empire, everyone's just grabbing, trying to get as much money as possible, right? Just trying to frickin' squeeze that fruit to a pulp to get all the juice out of it. And that's kind of what it feels like now. And a lot of these businesses I don't really feel like provide a valuable service or product, but they take a lot of money. Or maybe they provide a service that's valuable to a business that's not valuable. Or maybe that business is profiting off of government regulation that they also try to get in place, which is just, it doesn't make sense, right? That's not a free market. If you can manipulate the government to make laws that then you can profit off of, that's not a free market. And then, of course, some of these people are blackmailed, or most. So then they have to make these changes. And then the general public does not benefit, and the private institutions do. And that's what we're seeing in America. Now, young people are, I think, realizing that, but they don't know what to do, right? They're like, okay, well, college scam, corporate slavery, obviously a scam. Uh, you work for the government, aka police or firefighting. That's not really super promising in a sense of like you're working for corrupt individuals, and that's not really cool, right? I'm a firefighter, wildland firefighter, and I'm doing it more because I freaking just love the hike. I love to get in it. I love the forests. So I want to, keep things right, whether it's preventive burns, whether it's going direct attack, whether it's doing mop up, whatever role it is. It's just, if man, it just feels spiritually so right for me to do right now. And many people don't listen to their gut, or they don't even know how to find their gut feeling. And one of the first things that you can do is look back to your childhood interests, your childhood wonder. This is something that I cannot emphasize enough, but I think I found this from Robert Greene, Mastery. I think originally I was listening to this maybe back in 2023, 2024. I finished up coaching college football, right? I had a gut feeling initially, right? From the outside, somebody might see my resume that I haven't updated in a long time because luckily I don't have to. But if somebody saw my resume, they're like, dude, this guy did corporate sales and then he did cannabis sales and farming, which was a whole and fundraising, right? Raising private equity, and then did cybersecurity sales, then did tight ends coaching and JV head coach at a D1 school, and then was a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, then helped operate a family restaurant, then did wildland firefighting. And that's kind of where everything, I did firefighting. I loved it, right? But I knew I wanted it. I remember going to Starbucks every time in Grants Pass, Oregon, and I'm like, man, I got to do this coaching thing. I really want to help people lose weight. I was doing it during firefighting, and this is again goes back to childhood. I'm an older brother. I have two younger brothers, and I was always kind of coaching them up, trying to teach them. I wasn't always perfect. I made a lot of mistakes, or just didn't have the right practices that would lead to my goals initially. So sometimes I had to kind of course correct in the middle of the course rather than going into something knowing the approach I should take. It was a lot of trial and error for me. So I tried to pass on those little lessons or those little tidbits that I knew could be helpful for my younger brothers without them having to go through the trial and error phase like I had to do, right? And that's what I would call a mentor. And that's something that for yourself out there, the more you get involved, the more you're ambitious. When you're young, people are willing to take you under their wing. And I've been lucky to have great mentors as well, right? I wouldn't be here without them. And that's such an integral part of being a young man is finding quality mentors. But what I was emphasizing is I did a lot of different paths because I trust my gut feeling. And if you look into maybe human design, right, this is an interesting way to kind of understand yourself. Astrology, right? There's so many different tools out there. And the more you start kind of searching, the more you start realizing, holy cow, there's way more out there than I realized. But so many people and so many young men are just feel stuck and they don't even go into search yet. And hopefully today this is going to help you embark on a search, on a journey, on the hero's journey. Shout out to Joseph Campbell. Shout out to Jake Fusak for giving me that book after college. Right, the hero's journey. Look into that. Look into that book. It's a great one. So you go and you realize where you are currently, like I did, was not what you wanted to be doing. Now everyone on the outside thinks, or most people think, oh yeah, he's doing good. He's doing sales. He's going to college because he's doing firefighting, he's doing police, he's doing a trade, right? You're doing, and this is what the preparation also talks about, but you're doing the common things that people think are normal. But for you, it feels like your soul is being melted away, and it's a painful thing. And this is when, for many people, depression, anxiety, addiction come into play. And these are all things I would say I've dealt with, right? I'm still working through. Uh, and that's a personal process, and that's something that I think is difficult sometimes to share, even for myself, right? I've definitely dealt with all of those, but I'd like you to hopefully be able to get through this journey a little bit quicker than maybe I have, because I feel like I'm just embarking truly. I've been doing it, but right, I was after firefighting in 2024. I had a multitude of health issues that kind of piled up, and I just kept kind of putting them off to the side, not really knowing the significance of them and not really getting help. So that was a big opportunity to feel resentment. That's another thing I'm still working through, right? Resentment, everyone's went through tough situations, and it's easy to look at these people screwed me over, man. But when you do that, you're not really moving on, and you're not realizing that, wow, like for me, wow, if I didn't have those injuries and if I didn't really have kind of like, I would say, pseudo malpractice put upon me, I wouldn't understand the importance of listening to the individual. Of course, now I help people and I listen to them. I look at them and they might not even know there's an issue, but I'm like, hey, I think you should get this checked out. And then they do. And I'm, holy cow, I didn't realize I'm hypothyroid. I didn't realize XYZ. But then we were able to solve that because we see that earlier than going to the emergency room multiple times like I did, saying, hey, what is going on with me? I cannot figure it out until I finally found a great mentor, Kate Deering, who I did a podcast with recently. So if you are interested in health, hypothyroid, metabolism, check that out for sure. So all this to say, right, throughout the time, I felt a gut feeling. I always wanted to go out west. I loved being outside since I was a young kid. I grew up going to Vermont, seeing my cousins, going hiking, going to Adirondacks in New York State. And I always loved it. I just felt I would grow up. I made like this thing with my friends called a club fort, right? It was a whole wooden fort that was pretty cool. It was pretty big. You could fit like 5, 6 people in there, covered from the rain in the forest. And these are just things as a kid I love doing. I want to be outside all the time. I didn't like school. I wanted to recess. I always wanted to recess outside, no matter how cold or freaking whatever was going on. I just want to be outside. Right. I just want to be outside. I didn't like reading. I didn't really like school. I didn't do really well in school, especially as a young man. And I dealt with a lot of like frustrations, emotions, right? I had a lot of family members close to me pass away. And really from there on, I never really felt at home. I'm like, man, I don't feel fully at home. I'm like, there's something, and that kind of has the effect on me still today, which is a little different, or not effect, but just a choice I make, which is to travel often, right? Again, on the outside, somebody might think you're crazy, but something you do or you want to do, many people don't think is normal, but you're a unique person. So you don't have to follow what's normal and you can make your own path, right? And I'm, again, grateful as an entrepreneur to be able to do that. And I'm grateful to have people who trust in me. I'm grateful. Like it's a freaking amazing blessing, man. It is. And you can do it. I didn't go to school for nutrition. I ended up being really sick. I ended up helping people and hiring coaches, hiring bodybuilding coaches to learn from, hiring metabolism, thyroid, holistic coaches like Kate to learn from, and then got certified, right? Studied. You don't have to go to college. You can get certified as a trainer, as a nutritionist, as a strength coach outside of college, which is what I did. And I have many people who come to me, most people come to me who've worked with dietitians or other people who have college degrees. No, not to belittle them. I think that's awesome to study things that you want to study, right? It's free will. Do I think college is worth it for most people? No, but you can do what you want. Either way, a lot of times they get kind of advice that just doesn't really hit home to them. And why I believe I can help people many times is because I've been in their shoes. So for young men, right, who I'm speaking to, I've been in your shoes. For people who are trying to lose weight or improve performance, I've been in your shoes. Even for firefighting, right? Like I have to perform well. So you bet your ass I'm training a certain way, I'm supplementing a certain way, I'm sleeping a certain way, I'm eating a certain way, because I'm going 6, 7, 10,000 elevation fighting fire, not usually 10, but like whatever, 4 to 8,000 elevation. I'm going up front with a fire. Sometimes the flames are over 100 feet tall, hiking 10 plus miles a day, many times with a pack over 50 pounds on me. So if I'm not in shape, if I'm not dialed in physically, mentally, spiritually, man, it's not going to be a good news. And I always train with a thought in my mind, what if I have to carry somebody out? Uphill, downhill. What if I got to carry somebody out? Fire's getting bad. I've been in places where people almost get burnt over, and that's like a reality. So if I'm going in, I need to make sure I'm freaking in shape to carry somebody out. Not myself only, but I need to make sure I'm ready to pick up somebody and take them the hell out of there. Like I want to be in that kind of condition. And that's why I'm always training. And I always knew I'd come back to firefighting and I wanted to, but I was in New Mexico all of June and a little bit of July, just training, just making sure I'm like, cause I wanted to go right away, right? First day I do a hike and it feels like I'm a kid again. Man, I just felt so at peace in a Carson National Forest. Airbnb's lined up right there. that I got, and I was like, man, this is what I want to do. But it felt right, that social pressure on the outside is like, Jack, you have a great running business. You're a coach. How are you gonna firefight? And I kind of internalized that, right? Sometimes you might do this. You might internalize people's thoughts without even them telling you the thoughts. You just know what they're going to say, or you imagine what they're going to say. So then you let those impact you. And for June, I let that impact me. And that was a refinement process for me. I had to deal with, again, kind of working through a bit of addiction. When somebody, somebody like myself who's been constantly in pain for many years, I was basically getting addicted to things to blunt pain but I was using them even before I was in pain. And that's when you know there's a there's an issue, right? So I had to confront that, and I had to confront that without really people outside of me to to impact that, right? I needed time alone. And as a young man, many times time alone will be helpful. Now, this would come to human design where I'm a profile 6'2", right? It's kind of you're supposed to be a leader, but also a hermit, which makes sense. I love talking to people. I love helping people out, but I also need my alone time, right? Like, especially as I've gotten older, I've realized that. I didn't realize it, grow up, you're in a house, you're in a family. If you're lucky enough to have a house and a family, you grow up in that environment, whatever environment you got used to. And you realize as you get older, you might just always find yourself in the same environment. You kind of like just fall into those situations unless you really take a step back and realize what environment caters well for you. So those are all things to consider. But now, right, some takeaways so far would be if you're a young man, would really emphasize you taking some time for yourself without the conditioning of society and the people around you. This is a pivotal step. Many men are, shout out 50 Cent, but many men are really conditioned in this society. And there's a few aspects of conditioning, right? We would call this the red pill community. You'd call this a black pill community. You'd call this the normies, or maybe the NPCs, right? There's different like silos that there are, right? NPC is non-player, whatever, controlled, or I don't know. It's basically a bot, right? It could be like somebody who just doesn't really think that much. And there's a lot of people out there like that. And if you're around a lot of these NPC normie type people who just are like, oh, what did you watch Love Island? Oh, again, I'm not trying to berate anyone, so you can do what you want. These are just general examples. But like, oh my gosh, you watch Love Island? Oh, what college are you going to? Oh, are you going to this party? Are you going to do this? Or are you going to drink here? And all these things are not necessarily negatives, but when you don't feel really inclined, you don't, if you're a young man and you have opportunities, is it a fuck yes? If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. Whatever it is, going to college, taking this job, doing whatever. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. Okay. And you need to get in tune with your gut feeling. And that's where a 3x10 that I advise a lot of people to try out, right? Build your own routine. Everyone asks, oh, sleep routine. I'm going to throw a lot of shit at you if somebody asks me that, because I don't know what's going to work for you, right? But what are some things that I do, or some things that I would first step recommend to kind of get in tune with yourself, right? This would look like a 3x10. I need to do a post about this, but this is my post. I like YouTube much better than freaking social media. Social media, it just feels stupid. Okay, but 3x10. What is the 3x10? I'm drinking coffee right now. I'll tell you what. I Coffee is so good, makes me smile. Okay, but 3x10. And if you work with me, this is a shameless plug. If you work with me, coffee will be on your meal plan if you like it, and the quantity is going to say unlimited. Okay, so just shameless plug. Instagram, Jack_Clink. You need help losing weight, improving performance. I got a intake form on there. Fill it out. Google form. I'll hit you up. If I'm on fire, it might take a few days to get back to you. But we'll get things dialed in, man. I really love helping people. I like having different, right? I do biweekly coaching, which is really all I offer right now. But typically, I offer weekly, biweekly, and then biweekly Zooms are my three main ones. Sometimes weekly Zooms, and the prices on those are adjustable. The lowest is 144 a month for biweekly. So if you'd like that, send me a message. I'm happy to help, or email jackfklink, KLENK @gmail.com. Happy to help. This is what I freaking love to do. You have plenty of coffee. This is instant espresso blonde roast. Banging. Okay, or blonde cream maybe. But the 3x10 rule, what it's going to look like is you need to take time for yourself. So how can we do this? I would recommend, right? Again, these are, I'm not somebody who likes to give you rules, but these are things that I've just truly believe to be super helpful. And I've gotten and kind of picked them up from other people, right? I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee and Be Water, My Friend. There's a great book and it's written by his daughter Shannon and really kind of a mixture of his things and then Shannon's takeaways as his daughter. But one of my favorite quotes, or probably my favorite quote from him, and one of my favorite quotes really that I've ever heard is take what is useful, discard what is not, make the rest your own, right? That might have messed up a few words, but that's the general crux of it. Take what is useful, discard what is not, make the rest your own. And that's really what I would like to, this whole video is just take what's useful. If it's not useful, don't worry about it. Don't feel like you need to follow everything, but try some things out, man. Make it yourself, make it your own. You're not a replica of me or anybody else. So again, think for yourself. But 3 by 10, first thing, really there's no order, but this would be an hour before bed. I find to be the best time to enact this. And an hour before bed, right? Many of us are addicted to our phones, and I often forget this until I am addicted to my phone. So I was driving out from Rochester, New York to Grants Pass, Oregon, which is a long drive, 3 days, pushed it, had to get here to get boots, all these things. But what I realized is I'm driving and I'm on my phone a lot. I got the maps up, I'm watching a YouTube video, podcast, I'm on the phone, talking to somebody, I'm listening to music, and I'm like, holy cow. And then I go to a hotel and I'm like still stimulated and I don't do my 3 by 10. And that was the first time I couldn't fall asleep in so long. Typically my head hits the pillow and I am out cold. Freaking, I don't even, like, I sometimes forget like what sleeping position I sleep in because I lay down and I'm gone. And it's amazing. It's a great feeling and you need it. I would highly recommend that. And if you can really minimize your fall asleep time, you're going to maximize your sleep time. You're going to maximize your freaking morning wood for a male key, uh, testosterone, secretion, growth hormone secretion, all of that. But the 3 by 10, let's get to it. The first thing, meditation or prayer. Now, I think you can do both. I would recommend you meditate and then you pray, right? If you're going to do that. So meditation, if you look in the Bhagavad Gita, right, there is really no thought. If you think of anything, Bhagavad Gita says you can think of Krishna. But I think when I do it, right, you're typically in an upright position, the spine is straight either way if you're laying down or upright, but your eyes are closed. And typically I'm thinking of focusing on my third eye right here. And you're letting your thoughts pass. Many times people are like, I don't know how to meditate. I can't do it. Right. I'm no master by any means too. I've learned, shout out Jack Moses, Fred Dodson, some other, David Hawkins, some helpful people in this regard. But again, I'm no master. I'm just somebody who's trying to help you. So meditation, like I mentioned, third eye, but you're gonna have a lot of thoughts come by. And this is a great time to really confront the real shit in your life because you're gonna be like, dang, I don't want to do this job. It's just that thought, that subconscious just comes through. You're like, oh crap, I don't want to do this. Or oh crap, I don't want to study this in college. Or oh, I gotta talk to this girl. Or oh, whatever it is, right? You might have all these thoughts come by. Or think about past relationships, right? I've been kind of mentoring a friend recently and he's going through job switch, relationship switch, and that's a process. And this has been something I've been imploring him to really try because meditation, it's going to force you to confront some real stuff. Obviously, I'm a big fan of outdoor walks too, but meditation for 10 minutes, right? You're going to let those thoughts go by. Boom, boom. And the thoughts are basically clouds, right? If you're going to go outside, look at the clouds, right? I'm looking outside right now. If I want to go outside, look at the clouds, right? Look up in the sky. The clouds go by, go by, go by, and that's your thoughts. And those are even really vices and urges to do things. They're not you. And I believe, from my understanding of meditation, that's a lot of what meditation is really all about, is understanding that your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are many times things you've been conditioned, and you're really trying to decondition yourself. And this is a huge part of many of these, I'm reading, some different kind of Hindu, the Vedas and other things, and that's so much of what these books talk about is deconditioning yourself. Even the New Testament, Jesus talks about this as well. And he's a big fan of goes up on the mountain, in solitude, prays, in the morning. They're like, where is he? He's up in the mountain. So meditation, huge fan of that. You can use an app called Medito, Medito, which can be beneficial. There's a Sam Harris app, but I think he's a weird transhumanist who's probably implicated in blackmail and who knows what. I don't think you need an app, frankly, for meditation. I use eye cover so I don't open my eyes, and put on maybe some music. You can look up meditation music or anything like that and try some different things out. Of course, look at other resources, how to meditate, or other spiritual people you find to be beneficial. My astrologer would say intrinsic type people. But that's the first part. And maybe that's the last thing you do before bed, quite frankly. Another part is journaling. Now, I just got a new journal for my birthday. Thank you to my mother. She knows I write a lot in my journal. I frankly was just on my final few pages of my other one, so this is perfect. And I've got my journal here. I've got some things I haven't looked at once that I should talk about, but journaling is a fantastic tool for you to empty your mind a little bit and without really being conditioned by others. Because many times you might go through something difficult and you're like, oh, let me talk to this person. But there's always going to be a little bit of a spin. And even when I talk to somebody, I'm trying to like, all right, I'm not telling them what to do. I don't want to be like, yeah, do that. Because then they're going to think, oh, Jack said to do this. And Jack might know what he's talking about. Or maybe Jack has no idea. Who knows? But, like, I don't want to make somebody do something. I want them to come to it on their own. And journaling is a great way, again, for you to think on your own, for you to decondition, but you just put things on paper. And the cool thing is I have probably 10 plus journals throughout the years. And you can look back on them and kind of see your struggles, your thoughts, your feelings, and you can see what you still need to improve on, what you improved upon. It's cool. It also, when you pass away, it's a really cool. People can understand you, family members or loved ones can understand you. So that's cool. Anywho, journaling, 10 minutes. Okay. You can write as much or as little as you want, but I would implore you. I like to write down in the morning. I write down my dream journal. So I had some dreams last night. I woke up this morning, I wrote them down. I had two distinct dreams. So I wrote down my dreams. And now I can remember them, right? If I didn't write those things down, it wouldn't have been in my brain. But once you write something down, there's something even different than typing, right? I like to write things with my hand and pen, right? It's just it connects it much better. I think there's a lot of listen to a podcast with John Anik, and he was talking about how it actually he writes. He's an announcer for UFC, and he writes all of his fighter cards out because it helps him memorize things. And then he had some studies to back it up, and I totally believe it. When I used to do flashcards when I was young, I remember it. But I in the morning, I'll write down my morning weight, maybe my temperature and heart rate. Right, these are things I do with my clients, so then they can upload that because I like to see throughout a week. Okay, what's your heart rate? What's your temperature? What's your step count? What's your sleep? And what's your weight? And you can track those things 2 seconds in the morning, easy. And then you can upload it if you have a coach like myself. If you want coaching, right? I'm here for you. But that's how you would do it. In the morning, I put my date. I put the AM today, AM Monday, 7/27/26, AM Monday, weight, bang, boom, 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 all that stuff. Easy money. Put my dreams. So I have my dream journal. I wrote down my two dreams. And then in the evening, and you can journal a little bit in the morning, like, okay, what's going on? I would recommend this actually, if you're somebody who's trying to get off the phone, decondition yourself, you realize you've been conditioned by society and you're trying to slowly decondition yourself and you don't know how, first thing, journal in the morning. Marcus Aurelius did this. Journal in the morning, ground outside, take some time to just, the more time, if you can take an hour before and after, before bed and after you wake up, if you can take an hour away from your phone, truly beneficial. So having a manual alarm clock would be beneficial if that, because you won't have the temptation to look at your phone. Now, for me, for work, I kind of have to look at my phone more often because might get a fire call, but it's to each their own, right? You do your best you can. Maybe you do a quick look, not get sucked in. I have so many people who, man, they lay down in their bed and they'll tell me for like the first hour or two of the day and looking at your phone. It's like, holy shit, man. We don't want to be doing that. So, Jack, how do I stop doing that? Delete the apps, bro. Delete them, right? Especially on the weekend, man. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't have TikTok, YouTube. Those are off my phone. Boom, gone. YouTube is a rabbit hole. You might think, oh, I'm not on social media. I was on that last night for too long, and I was like, dang, get my ass off this thing. I'm on YouTube for too long. So, all right, journaling before bed. That's the second part of the 3 by 10. 10 minutes. You can do this earlier in the day, but I'd recommend 10 minutes. Get those thoughts out so you're not laying in bed thinking, oh, what if I do this? No, no, no. Get those all out. Write your to-do list for tomorrow. Get everything out. What I got to do. What blah 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 blah. And then you're not going to be laying in bed stressing. Oh, I got to do this. Boom. And if you think about something, get your ass up, write it in the journal, and go lay back down. I'll do that sometimes. I'll be up, and I'm getting some crazy ideas, and I'm going to write them down. And then eventually when I get them all out of my head, I can sleep and I know I won't forget them. That's the worst feeling. You get some banger idea and then you forget about it and then you never know again. The muse, you got to connect to it. The War of Art, great book by Stephen Pressfield. But moving forward, so from there, the third part of the 3x10 is going to be reading. Like I mentioned already, a few books. I mentioned I didn't like reading when I was young. And eventually I found the importance of reading because you could connect with people. You're like, oh shit, somebody's like me. Oh man, somebody wanted to start a business and they did successfully. Oh wait, there's cool military leaders. Oh wait, whatever. There's so many things that there's cool fiction books. I need to do a better job at reading those. There's so many really beneficial texts out there, and this is why I think college is a scam because you don't need to go to college and pay all this money for textbooks when you can learn all this from books and online courses for a much cheaper cost while making money, so you don't go in debt, but you actually come out at a profit. And this is what the preparation talks about again. It's going to be a bunch of shameless plugs, but just listen to some podcasts that they did. One with the Journeyman podcast, who are wildland firefighting medics. And then I was listening on the drive, and I was like, dang, these guys are like, this is exactly what I was thinking, but I couldn't put it into words. I couldn't really explain the whole thing that I was trying to do. And then I listened to these guys. I'm like, dang, this hits home. So reading, man, 10 pages, right? Very low bar. Now, if you don't read it at all, it might seem like a high bar. If you need to shorten it, if you need to do a 3x5 rule, 5 minutes of prayer meditation, 5 minutes of journaling, 5 pages, you can do so. If you're a man watching this, I think you have much more potential than you think too. So many guys handicap themselves. I'm not really a golfer, but the handicap I think is like helps with your score, and it's makes it easier to be good, right? We handicap ourselves in life so much. We don't truly understand our potential, and then we're just like, oh, I didn't have time to work out today. I didn't have time to read, to journal, to pray, to meditate, to set out my clothes for the morning so I could wake up early and make it to the gym on time and hit my full workout, not skip abs. Because if you're trying to get lean and you're skipping abs, you're not going to look the way you want to look. You need to have abs. Ties in the whole physique. And most times we're around people. Again, this is why time alone is really important. And time to journal and pray and meditate. Because when you're meditating, you might be like, nah, man, you've been lazy, bro. You've been lazy. And you start to realize it. And you're like, dang, I have. But if you tell it to somebody else, they might be like, no, man, you're good. But they're also lazy. They might be even lazier than you. So if you say you're lazy, it implies that they're lazy. So they're not going to say you're lazy. Right? If you say you're trying to stop something, stop eating bullshit, stop skipping the gym, stop smoking weed, stop drinking, whatever you're trying to do, and you're saying that to somebody else, but they do that action, they're not going to want you to stop because then they're going to feel alone, then they're going to feel bad about themselves. And that's the observer effect. You kind of want to be careful about when you share goals with people because they might oftentimes try to manipulate you so you don't hit that goal. And that might not even be really a true malicious act out of them, but more of an ignorance. Either way, these are all some takeaways. 3x10 rule or 3x10 recommendation. Try it out. See how you like it. If you like it, it helps you, leave a comment. Let me know. Of course, if you have any questions about some practices you could do, feel free to send me an email. I can do Q&A podcasts or send me a message on Instagram or whatever you want. Comment. Aside from that, right, a few other things we'd like to review today and these are all just things, kind of came into my head. Many people are inundated with supplements. I mean, it is wild. I have people who want to work with me, but are like, oh, I'm not ready to work together yet. I gotta whatever, do XYZ. But they'll be sending me questions every week about what supplements to buy. And I'm like, first of all, you won't even sign up for coaching, right? Where I'd actually help you and you could actually eat the food and you wouldn't need a supplement, but you're sending me some whack ass supplements. And I'm like, man, people would rather spend 50 or $100 on supplements than spend whatever, 144 for a full guide list on how to read blood work. I read that for them, how to approach nutrition, how to track nutrition, how to track specific metrics, how to get foods that hit those metrics and you can hit them once, twice a week, how to do all this stuff. So, and again, this is what I specialize in. And people are like, I'd rather just fucking give me some ashwagandha, boost my test. I'm like, bro, it doesn't work. It's not how it works. But people love supplements. They love a quick fix. Right? Just remember, supplements are really like a get rich quick scheme, not only for the supplement companies, But for you, you think, oh, I'm just gonna, yeah, fucking this guy who's shredded uses this, I'm gonna use it. This guy who's high T uses it, I'm gonna use it. Doesn't work like that. Visualize your goal, and instead of focusing on what you want to become, focus on what that person would do, right? The daily actions of the goal. That's what you need to be doing. If you want to be fit, what would a fit person do? You can't just be thinking, I'm going to visualize six pack. Visualization is great. It's great to visualize things. No problem with that. But if without action, visualizing is not going to lead to the result you would like. So consider your goal. Great. You have a goal. It's a solid goal. You want to do it. You feel fuck, that gut feeling, yes, fuck yes. Great. Great. But now, what are the actions that somebody who has that goal or your future self really we want to talk to? What would they do? Would that future self come up with excuses? Would they do mindfulness practices? Probably. Would they, you know, have quality food options? Would they meal prep or cook, or whether they have ready to go options? Would they train? Would they get time outside? Would they do grounding? Would they, what things would they do? And then you exemplify that. Like for me, I was thinking today, okay, I'm gonna cut, I'm losing weight, kind of doing it in a slower process because I want to make sure my thyroid stays good and all this stuff. But what would somebody fit do? They'd go hike. So I went and hiked. What would they do? They're gonna get lift. So I'm gonna go lift. Basic stuff. Would go walk, eat good food, track your food. So understand that if you want to hit a goal, you need to be doing the actions that somebody with that goal would have. You can't just be focused on the goal and just be like, oh, I guess I'm going to hit the goal now because I have a goal. It doesn't work like that. And that's really important because those actions, that doing, is going to build confidence. Because if you're watching this and you're trying to become an entrepreneur and you're 17 and you don't want to go to college, you might have to eat a lot of shit, but it can go by faster than you think. Because if you're working for this business, if you're trying this out, you move here, you do this, you're learning throughout the whole process, you're going to be able to learn things fast. You can fail fast, you can learn, right? My old line coach used to say this, fail fast, learn right away, rather than fail slow, fail fast. It was funny. It's true. Because then you're like, oh shit, well, I better not do that again. And you learn from it. Don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And if you have been, bet your ass you should journal and meditate and take a long walk and think about how do I keep making the same mistake? And rather than being stuck in the shame cycle, many people do, right? You can get stuck in the cycle of just shame because you keep messing up. And then you just blame the thing, right? And his example would be like for me, Jack Moses helped me out with just not, I used to be always somebody being a big guy, but not naturally big, that I had to eat a lot of food. And then it just became, and since I was a young kid, kind of an emotional eater, I suppose, just family passings and just you pick up things, right? That's the mimetic aspect of being a human. But then realizing, look, that's not, you don't need to do that. And then feel much better, lost a bunch of weight, feel good again. And that was a lot of it. Those cravings too, talk about with Kate Deering, just come from having really poor thyroid function, poor health, and, get like bad chest pains, whatever. So you try to use food or drugs. But again, what I'm trying to get back to is it's okay to fail, but you need to learn from your failure and you need to try to learn quickly and be intentional about what you're trying and what you're doing. And make sure it has a nice, solid, spiritual pull. Gut feeling feels good. The gut feeling is everything. It's everything in my experience. Gut feeling about relationships. I've had relationships where I'm like, man, I don't think so, but it's like, you go into it and you just or whatever. You're a dude, so you're fired up. Um, or whatever it may be, and then you're like, "Ah, that wasn't worth it. Or that wasn't what I was trying to get out of this. Um, and many times you'll realize, at least for me, even, more recently, if I make a decision that I'm like not too fond of, I probably didn't meditate, pray, journal that day, read, or the few days before, right? I kind of let myself unravel a little bit, and then I'm like, I don't think about it deeply or take some time to ponder, meditate, pray. So take some time for yourself. Don't be influenced. Another thing for young men, okay? This is super applicable because this is where we would go back, I guess, to the red pill, the black pill, right? A lot of what I do as a coach is helping young men is with dating. Okay, so this is something else. This is a very how to navigate the relationship realm with females, right? Many guys aren't just too comfortable with it, but they see people online and they're like, dude, all the girls are freaking messed up. I don't want to, like, the dating market's screwed. I'm just like, man, it's not. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. You got a shot. You're gonna be good. But we have to reframe. We've got to think about this in a different manner, right? You need to put out what you want. You cannot just be like, oh, I want this perfect wife, and you're just a lazy piece of crap, or you're not spiritually pulled to what you're doing and your work. So people can feel that, right? All these kind of, we would talk about aura. If you're not doing things that truly feel right for you, and you're not being the man you really want to be, or you would like, be the change you want to see. So you got to do that. And when you put that out, it can be felt, right? And that's when, in the dating scene, being in person, would really be important. Think about if you're looking for a wife or you're looking for a quality girl, do you want to be going to like some crazy clubs? Probably not. I've been to some crazy expensive clubs in Miami. You're not gonna find a wife there, pal. Okay? It's very unlikely. So if you're going there and looking for that, that's probably not the place for you. And as a man, we have an inverse relationship with our value compared to women, right? Peak value for women is young, whatever. That would be like 20, 22, 23. Peak value for men is probably like 35 to 40. So as women age, their value goes down. As men age to a certain point, the value goes up. So as a man, rather than getting stuck in the corporate realm and not really ascending to your potential, why not take some time to do experiences that you truly feel inclined to do, to learn lessons and understand that your value is only going to be increasing as long as you invest in yourself. Where women, they don't really, not again, this is no hate towards women. As men, we love women, so we should. And as men, our duty is to love and protect women and children. Like that's a key thing. So hating on women I really think a psyop. And again, I'm going to say psyop. What does that mean? Psychological operation. There's a whole special forces realm dedicated to this because it's an active thing in the CIA, FBI, national security state, all the social media, which is created by national security state to, control you and have your information. Either way, what's important to understand here is, you know, the successful relationships with women and experiences with them, it comes from being a genuinely quality person that you want to be. And if you become that person, they can feel it. They can feel, oh, this guy, he's cool. He might have his shit together, or he's interesting and he's genuine and he's doing what he actually enjoys. Right? These are important things. And if you're, I'm talking to guys, again, a lot of what a lot of what I do is kind of mentoring, and not only in health, but in a little bit of advice in this realm. A lot of bad advice, to be quite frank. So understand your value is going to go up if you invest in yourself. Now, if you don't invest in yourself and you just get out of shape and you're working some job that's really boring, that's probably not your value is might stay pretty stagnant, and then you're gonna have to settle and not be happy, and probably that's why the divorce rate's really high. You know, if you find and again, there's always an exception, right? So if you're a young man, I know plenty of young men who find great women and get married, fantastic, great, good for you. It's fantastic. But now somebody in my realm, right? I'm traveling, I'm doing a lot of stuff, I'm doing different things. It's exciting, right? It's cool. But I've had long relationships before, a few, but I've also not had long relationships before and had shorter ones, and that's okay too, because I'm going doing stuff. And rather than being bogged down like, oh, this girl, I'm gonna stay here now, I just can't do that. I can't. So, but that doesn't mean you can't take at bats. A lot of what it is as a young man, just as in life and working and gaining experience, and what kind of training style you like, what kind of nutrition style you like, what kind of things you like to do for work, recreation, eventually, hopefully, building your own business of some sort to have control of yourself, to have control of your location. But you learn through trial and error. And for women, your interactions with women are very similar. Don't overthink it. They're human. Like it's not a big deal, man. So that's like some general advice, right? I think the dating apps I've used them like not much. I think I probably went on less than 5 dates from those. Like I don't know. I don't like it. It's like it feels like social media. It can be like a weird hedonic treadmill. You can just You can use it for like quick hookups and stuff, but I don't think that's really, I don't know. It's weird seeing somebody, I don't know, and you met them online. I don't know. I feel like vibe wise, you can just get somebody's vibe a lot better in person pretty quick. Now, Jack, where do I find women? Okay. Well, I'm gonna put you on here. Some things you can do. Okay. The gym is a great spot. Now, the gym, you can't be a creep. Okay. This is really, I feel like this is advice I should keep private, because it works for me. But I'll share some things here. So for women in the gym, right? You gotta freaking you gotta read the room. Okay, you gotta be able to read the room. So you can't, not you can't, but you don't want to be a creep, right? So a few things about women, right? They're not gonna typically come up to you. You probably know that. You probably don't have a lot of women come up to you unless you're a 10 out of 10 dude. And if you are, good for you, right? Sometimes you got women who come up to you. Luckily, after I lost weight, the game changed. I'll tell you that. It's been cool. It's been fun. The game changes. So if there's motivation for you to get fit, a lot of them guys I'm talking to, like, oh, I want to lose weight. And I'm like, you want to get girls? Like, yeah. Like, yeah, okay. Well, we can do that. So it's a very common motivation, right? It's a human motivation to reproduce, and women are a huge part of that equation. So at the gym, let's get back to it. All right, the gym is very interesting, man. I think it's a bit of it feels over sexualized to me, like some of the clothing women wear, um, and men, I guess. But it's just like, man, you're putting it all out there. And for me, when I'm looking for somebody, I don't really want somebody who's just putting it all out there. It's kind of like I don't know. It's just your privates, quite literally, are out. Um, but let's get into it. Okay, so some simple things for the gym, right? When somebody's actually lifting or like getting after it, you probably don't want to, interrupt them. Now, there's a few things you can do, right? You can just have basic, hey, I think you're whatever pretty. My name's Jack. What's your name? Whatever. Some basic pickup line, not even pickup line, but just basic introduction. You can be straightforward. Okay. If you're respectful and somebody's like, whatever, leaving the gym and you made eye contact like 4 times, you can go up and say, hi, my name's Jack. I just saw you across the gym. You look like you're working hard. What's your name? Okay, cool. You got any plans for Saturday? You want to grab some coffee? Yeah. Okay. What's your number? Don't ask for Instagram. Okay. Don't ask. I don't know what people are doing, but I've heard people do that. Don't do that. Ask for your phone number. Don't worry about the Instagram. Uh, right? That's a basic thing you can do. It works. It's worked for me plenty of times. It's a rare thing to do. So again, it might seem like, oh, that's super basic. You don't have any cool lines. You can come up with lines, don't worry. But you can also just be straight up a dude and be assertive and just be a man and say, hey, you look pretty. My name's Jack. What's your name? And go from there. It's very simple. Okay, let's remember this, gents. Don't overthink it. It's like goal line. If you're a football guy, it's 3rd and 1. Okay, we're running the ball. All right, let's just fucking score a touchdown here, and that's how it is with women. But the eye contact thing is key. I mentioned the eye contact 4 times. You're probably what? If you're inexperienced, gotta make the eye contact. Now it's not staring at somebody. Okay, that's the difference. But you just notice them look at you. You look at them. You just connect eye contact, right? You make eye contact multiple times, typically not by mistake, right? They're interested. Women aren't going to come up to you. So eye contact's huge. You want to make sustained or like eye contact. Now, if you look at them and you see them and they make eye contact with you, don't just immediately like move your eyes off of them. You can hold it for a second and then you can move forward. And if they hold it for a second too, maybe a little slight smile, it's like a green light. Okay. It's a green light. Go in there and, and say what's up. Okay. Other things you can do. And I've had success with some funny ones, incidentally, but then it turns into something I can actually kind of use. I'll give one more example. I don't want to, again, I don't think any women really watch this, luckily. Um, and I'm moving all over. So it's just, I'll try, maybe I'll try this out today at the gym. But another one is going to be the good old fashioned, can you hold this for me? So this would look something like you go to a cable machine, you're next to a girl that you find attractive and you got to, this happened to me quite literally, and it led to a few dates and some stuff. But what happened was I forgot to get my water bottle. It was in my locker. And I was like, dang it. But it was my intra training drink. I like having my intra training orange juice, baking soda, collagen. If you want some fucking quality intra training or how to structure your food around training, again, you got to hit me up for coaching, man. I'm going to get you dialed in. So But I forgot my inch training. I'm like, dang it. So I was at the cable. I was going to go warm up rear delts for, I think, push day. So I'm like, hey, can you hold this cable? I forgot my water. Pretty basic thing, right? It's not like I'm trying to talk to you. I'm just literally, hey, can you hold this? I come back. Some guy walks up, tries to take it. She says, oh, he's using it like, and then she protects my freaking cable machine. Badass, dude. So then I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And we just start talking from there. You know, you both take your headphones out for a second. You start talking. Before you know it, I'm at the cable machine for over half an hour talking. Eventually, get our number. We go to dinner, and things, we're solid. So that's just a way to do it. Ask somebody to hold the machine for you if they're near you. You can some gyms like I typically work in. Like if I have my plan lifting and I got leg extensions and somebody's on leg extensions, I'm working it. Now, if I really need to, yeah, I'll go and I'll switch my order, but that kind of frustrates me. So I'd like to work in. And if you work in with somebody, you can talk with them. Now, cool thing about the gym is you can talk with people. A lot of people have their headphones on. That's cool. But if you talk to people and you're talking to dudes, right, you just get used to it. Or talk to another trick too. I'm getting on a tangent here, but we'll ride with it. Is talking first. First person you talk to, aside from a dude, first woman you talk to is somebody you don't find really necessarily attractive. So it's just like batting practice, man. You're just getting batting practice. You're in the layup line pregame. You got to warm up. So before you talk to that girl who's the 8 out of 10, you're like, dude, I'd love to go on a date with her. You know, let's just make some shots first, boys. Let's just talk to a girl. You don't have to ask for her number, nothing like that. But you just talk to her. And something about women is when you start talking to other women, they get more interested. It's that scarcity thing, like, oh, what's going on? Then you see them looking, or it's a good thing again, I'm sharing a lot here, but these are some mental things that do work. You're tried and true for myself and people I've advised. So those would be some things I recommend for the dating scene. Obviously, right? Think about the location you're at. Maybe a Saturday morning at the gym. That means she's not going out doing all this stuff. And the same for you, right? Because this you're thinking about that. She's thinking about that. She's like, oh, this guy, he's not a freaking hungover drunk, immature. He's actually somebody who's mature. He's working out in the morning. He's got his life together, right? Girls like that. They care about attraction, but they also care that you're like, you've some girls just like crazy people, crazy guys, and that's like their own thing. And that might, we don't have to go into that. But if you want a solid woman, being a solid man, really the first step. Okay. And don't be afraid of rejection, man. It's just like for me, for having a business, plenty of people say no. We got on a Zoom call. I tell them about the process, the price. Some of them say no. And I'm like, okay, I've learned sales, but you bet your ass I'm not like going like all force sales. I'm just like, all right, like, I'm going to show the results, show what I can do, show I can help you, kind of be the bridge between your problem and the solution you want to get to, why you haven't gotten there, why we can get there, right? And go from there. If you don't want to, no worries. And it's the same with chicks. You don't have to be overly like go crazy. If you're texting them, they don't respond to you. Maybe if you don't text, they don't respond to you again, and then they respond to you like after a day or two. They always have their phone on them, so they're not interested. Okay, move on. Don't get attached so quick, right? A lot of, from my experience, again, a lot of girls have more. They're talking to multiple men sometimes if they're attractive. Dudes do that, right? Okay, been there. But a lot of times we also are just like, you know, I won't share too much. There's a lot of personal information here. We don't have to share that, but go to the places where women are. So again, if you're a young man and you're just, figuring shit out, you're 18, 19, 20, go to Whole Foods on a Saturday morning. I'm telling you, I've made some, like, we can put in some work at Whole Foods. You're going shopping. She's like, oh, this guy, he's dressed, dressed well in public. You have to dress like fancy. Like I'm wearing a plain black shirt, some jeans or whatever. Nothing crazy. You got a good, like whatever, solid stuff on. It doesn't, again, it's your style too. So make it your own. But, you know, proper hygiene, things like that. Those go a long way. And go to places where quality women be. Farmers markets, I'm telling you, coffee shops, easy money. Like these are places where you can strike up a conversation in line. Hey, I've never been here before. What do you think I should get? Come on now, easy money. In the grocery store, simple things. You can obviously you can do again. Hey, I think you're pretty. what's your name? I'm Jack. Something like that, right? You don't have to do anything crazy. Or you can just be like, oh, but you get that? I didn't know they had this. Or, have you tried this before? Like, again, basic stuff, guys. Basic stuff. We're all human here. You're allowed to strike up a conversation. Small talk leads to big talk. Okay. Small actions lead to big actions. So you just gotta, you know, it's the first step. And then you realize, oh, that was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. That sounded like I fumbled over my words. That's okay. Again, that's why you can kind of start with the unattractive women. Just get those at bats in there, boys. Get the at bats. Okay. Baseball, you're an all-star if you're hitting 300. Okay. Again, for women, it's an asymmetrical return when you're talking to women as well. So you only need to hit once, legitimately. So you don't have to even hit 300. You don't have to hit once if you're really like looking for that. You only have to hit once. So don't worry if you strike out a few times or if you fly out. If you got to walk, maybe you got their number, they didn't respond. That's probably a walk. Or maybe I don't know. You texted one date and then nothing. Yeah, that would be a walk. One date, nothing happened. That'd be a walk theoretically because first base is obviously something else. That'd be a walk. That's a good analogy. All right. Sometimes you got to take a walk. Barry Bonds, Hall of Famer, should be. And dude was getting a lot of walks because again, walks get you on base. Walk is like a number, right? Walks get you on base, boys. All right, that's about it for the lady talk. But for my young men, if you're watching this, that's a big motivation of yours. Also, this is a big one too. Uh, don't be watching porn. Okay, everyone talks about. I feel like this is a big thing now, right? Shout out Chase Hooper. He's like no gooning. I guess gooning is a term for masturbation now. Solbra talks about semen retention. I didn't really understand the importance of this, and then I did it. It's like, dang, dude. Um, and then you practice it, and then you can like use it's a skill, and and then you can retain even like when you're with a woman. That's like another cool skill. So again, a bit personal, but these are things that I think can help you. It can help with testosterone. It can help with again that aura. I truly believe I can almost tell in men. And I was never like I'm open with, I've had things in the past, but porn was never really a thing that was huge. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. I don't know. Kind of feels fucking gay. Okay. Let's be real here. It is gay. I think it's gay. I think it's like this is my conspiracy mind, but it's like, I think porn is gay, especially if there's another man, like, get me the fuck out. But when I was like, this was more in high school, you get indoctrinated. Somebody shows you this and you're like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, little monkey brain is like, what the, um, but with cameras on phones, I think if you're looking at some stuff, bro, they're looking right back at you. So be careful about that. Don't look at porn. Like it's taking juice from you, man. Quite literally. But I think you're also being, I don't know, just inundated and being like trapped and weird stuff. So, you know, and the thing about addiction, and this again for me would be like whatever painkillers or other things in the past, would be the first few days is the hardest. And those urges, right? You typically, whether you're whatever you're doing, 10 to 15 minutes, you get a strong urge, and it's gonna pass. But it's gonna be strong urge for about 10 to 15 minutes. You got to hang in there, and you've got to look back when you're trying to stop something. And you've got to realize what are the catalysts that have led me to doing something previously, right? Like for me, I was trying to stop using, pain relieving medicine, whatever that is a painkiller, whether it's a cannabis, whether that's an alcohol, something that helps me not feel in in pain. But typically the pain comes from, okay, I was low sleep. Okay, I lifted too heavy. Okay, I was sitting down a lot and my shoulders start to freaking dislocate, whatever it is, right? I start to get nerve pain in my back. A lot of it's nerve pain. If you've dealt with nerve pain before, I sympathize with you. Not fun. That's why I got this bad boy. I've got CBD. We're just locked in right here. 1,000 milligram canister pain cream. But you got to realize you have 10 to 15 minute surges of urges. You can rhyme here. And after that, it kind of goes away for a bit and then it'll come back. And you have to realize the catalyst behind it. So if the catalyst is loneliness for you, if the catalyst, if like for me, is pain, emotional, physical, if it's stress, understand your catalyst. And this is where you can journal. This is where you can meditate. This is where you can read about those things, right? You can understand yourself and then you can shape yourself to improve. So if you understand you're doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, well, let's read about somebody who's pushed through this. Let's journal about this so you don't forget and you remember your intention each day and you're able to stay on top of your shit. And then let's meditate about this and consider who you want to become, right? The type of man you want to become, what you need to be doing rather than just focusing on the issue. And of course, praying. The universe is here to help. You're part of it. So, okay. Aside from that, I did mention supplements. I think everyone's inundated with them. I think they're extremely overhyped for the most part. Recently I've just been taking my thyroid. I think that's about it. I'm gonna have some lunch and then go lift. I've just got my thyroid. I typically will take a B1, a D3, a K2. Actually, not much D3. I've been getting a lot of sun. I don't know if you can tell. Been getting some sun out here. That was with a shirt on, so got the little farmer's tan. But haven't taken a lot of D3 this summer. I was living in New Mexico, walking around shirtless for miles all day. I'm freckled up. We got more freckles coming in. Hair's getting a little bit lighter. So don't take the D3 right now. But if you're not in a super sunny area like I am in the, you know, Oregon area, Southern Oregon, or like Southwest New Mexico, it might be helpful to take vitamin D3, 5,000 to 10,000 IUs, depends. Try your blood markers, aim for around 60 on the vitamin D OH25 test. But that's like one of the only few ones you really like. Again, there's supplements out there, but if you're not dialed in with your nutrition and your sleep, what are you doing? Okay. The supplement is like the last 3%. Now, some people, it makes a big difference, right? Like, but it's rare. The more and more I help people, the more I'm like, it wasn't some like crazy supplement. A lot of times it's taking out crappy food or sleeping more or improving digestion. And if a supplement's needed, like a thyroid, T3 or T4, yeah, that helps. Cascara, if you're not really shitting well, that helps. Carrot salad, mushrooms, I feel oysters, beef liver. I view a lot of foods as supplements. High doses of calcium via milk, supplement. Vitamin B1, magnesium from coffee, supplement. But you just looking at all these random things and be like, oh, do I need this? Do I need that? Chances are you don't. And chances are these supplements have harmful additives in them. So I'm a big fan of the pull back approach. Pull everything back and then slowly add things back in. So if you need help reading blood work and figuring out what supplements to take, again, that's what I do with people, is quite literally what I do. We review the supplements that you're currently taking, review your blood work, review your symptoms, and then usually I'll get a laundry list of supplements somebody's taking. I'm like, yeah, let's take these three. And then you eat consistently throughout the day and you feel good. And then, holy crap, man, I feel good. Yeah. Don't overcomplicate it, guys. Okay. Aside from that, training, right? When you're a young man, you need to eat good consistently, 4 to 6 meals a day, you know, figure out what you're doing. But ideally, right, I'm more of a high to moderate carb guy, high to moderate protein guy. I'm on the lower end of fat. Now, I'm not like anti-fat, but it depends kind of what type of shape you're in. If you're in crappy shape, you have plenty of fat in your body. I don't think you really need it. Metabolic flexibility, we'd call this. If you're dialed in, you're lean, yeah, we can have more fat for sure. So it's depends on the person. We'll go into nutrition in a different episode. I got a good one coming up with the nutrition coach tomorrow. We'll talk about nutrition. His approach is different than mine, so it'll be good to chat about. Aside from that, um, you know, figure out what you were interested in childhood. What was your childlike wonders? What were really true to you before you were conditioned when you were a young kid, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old? Look into that, figure that out, and find yourself. If you need help, again, send me a message on Instagram, Jack, JCK_Klink, KLENK. Send me an email, jackfklink@gmail.com. Send me an email for any future episode ideas. If you need help with getting lean so you can get women, getting lean so you can improve your thyroid, getting lean so you can improve your ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, like I did, getting lean so you don't have that chronic back pain in your freaking herniated discs, and so you can build your shoulder muscles up again right here without having proper labrums, because both mine are freaking torn and separated. We can do that. Okay. So you can put on the freaking muscle and enjoy the life you have and start businesses, gain new experiences, live in new places, talk with beautiful and like have relationships with beautiful women. Like you can do this, man. Your life does not have to be the lame freaking life that you think it's about to be on. So make the change in your life. Do what actually you feel pulled to do, even if it seems wild to other people. Think for yourself and stay curious. I'll see you next time.